Ladies and gentlemen, the indictments of the three people indicted during the Durham probe special counsel are online. So you can read the indictments. If you want to read the Sussman indictment, you put Michael Sussman indictment or Igor Danchenko indictment or Kevin Kleinsmith and the same word, and you'll get the actual Department of Justice documents. Now, on page 15, this is very interesting. On or about the same date, researcher one replied, stating that the paper achieved Tech Executive One's objective, but noting the paper smartly avoided discussing weaknesses or holes in the paper's hypothesis. They're referring to, like, a dossier, basically, that they were giving a bunch of nonsense, a compilation of fabricated narratives, false statements, deceitful claims pertaining to the server information, non-public cyber data, digital information that they obtained through surveillance of Trump Tower, a healthcare provider, Trump's apartment, and the executive office of the president, while Trump was president in February of 2017, even though all of this started and most of it was obtained before Trump was in the Oval Office. That doesn't matter. They were still doing surveillance work while Trump was still, when Trump first entered the Oval Office in February of 2017. So the statement then goes on, and this is an actual quote from the people involved. A DNS expert would poke several holes to this hypothesis, primarily around visibility, about which very smartly you do not talk about. That being said, I do not think that even top national security researchers can refute your statements. Nice. Prior to that, he states, okay, that what I wanted to read was, so they were trying to create a plausible narrative that could easily be disproven by somebody or refuted by somebody with knowledge of cybersecurity. So they were trying to fabricate a story about Trump and Alpha Bank. That's what the Sussman indictment states. Okay? He lied to James Baker at the Bureau, and everyone involved with this grandiose lie is being investigated or will be investigated. But what they're talking about, Tech Executive One, his researchers, Sussman, the statement here, please read as if you had prior knowledge or involvement, and you were handed this document as a security expert, not a DNS expert, and were asked, is this plausible as an explanation? Not to be able to say that this is, without a doubt, fact, but to merely be plausible. Do not spend more than a short while on this. If you spend more than a half hour, you failed the assignment, hopefully less. All they wanted was something plausible. Okay, a DNS expert. Then they find, on or about the same date, researcher one replied, stating that the paper achieved Tech Executive One's objective. So the documents that they were going to funnel through Sussman into the FBI achieved their initial objectives, which was just give a pretext. It has, it doesn't have to be completely accurate. We're just setting up and framing Trump. So they write on page 15, a DNS expert would poke several holes to this hypothesis, that Trump was communicating with the server in the Kremlin through Alpha Bank, primarily around visibility, about which very smartly you do not talk about. That being said, I do not think even top security researchers can refute your statements. Nice. Okay, so there you go. On 15 and 16, pages 15 and 16, on or about September 15, 2016, Originator 1 responded to Tech Executive 1, stating in part that the paper's conclusion was plausible in the narrow scope defined by Tech Executive 1. Hit subscribe to this channel right now, ladies and gentlemen. Very important. Hit subscribe. I will start this weekend or maybe later tonight, on my first segment in the new channel, a comedic channel, pure satire. The channel is titled, the name is Indict and Imprison 45. And I pretend to be a wonderful, morally superior, highly educated, liberal Democrat, wonderful person who thinks that Trump's going to get indicted as Democratic donors, Lieutenant Governor of New York, 3 Durham probe indictments, like 11 that I found the other day, just with a quick Google search of Democratic politicians within the past year who have been arrested and indicted. So what's taking place within the Democratic Party, really the epicenter of corruption in today's political system, in our political landscape, what they want to do is project. It's all projection. Go after Trump. Say that he's going to get arrested. Well, I poke fun at that, and I will sound like a Washington Post or New York Times columnist or CNBC or CNN contributor. So hit subscribe to that comedic channel below. The stock market crash channel, hit subscribe. I will unfortunately be doing a lot more work on that. Everything I said about the economy is taking place, and we're heading towards a devastating stock market crash. So I predicted all of that. Subscribe there. That's below in the pinned comment as well. If you want to support my work, my Patreon is below, ladies and gentlemen. Your support to my new Patreons, thank you so very much. If you know a platform aside from Patreon that you'd rather contribute to, let me know in the comments section. Ladies and gentlemen, page 15 and 16 of this indictment. Not only that, here you have 13 and 14, and I talked about this in my segment prior to this one. Let's for a moment think of best case scenario. This is how they're talking, how they're conspiring. We were able to show the DNS communication exists between Trump and Russia. How do we plan to defend against criticism that this is not fabricated traffic we are observing? There is no answer to that. Let's assume again that they are not smart enough to refute our best case scenario. You do realize we will have to expose every trick we have in our bag, even to make a weak association. We cannot technically make any claims that would fly public scrutiny. They are conspiring and working to create a fabricated false narrative. They know they're doing that, and that's why Sussman's lie to Baker is so material. The reason he lied is to get the Bureau, because even at that point, government agents, even if they were loyal to the cause of taking down Trump, needed a pretext. They needed an excuse. Even at that point, the tech executive or Sussman, they couldn't just go to James Baker, Comey's top legal counsel at the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and say, oh yeah, we have fabricated nonsense. It's actually Clinton paid us, and the Democratic Party paid us to disseminate information. So you want to take it? No, it's I'm not working on behalf of anybody. So he already texted that. We have that text message, but this is all server data that is manipulated is weaved into an absurd, false, baseless narrative. Now, these are the same people who are horrified when Trump says something that they find to be baseless, or when Trump is suspicious, or when Trump makes a claim based on suspicion. That is not good enough. These claims were not only based on suspicion, it's even worse than that. They were conspiring and working alongside one another. It's within the indictment. So if people say, this is all nonsense, it's actually within the factual background of the indictment. You can see and you can look what's taking place. They were paid by the Democratic Party and Madam Secretary, Trump's direct political rivals, to create a narrative just to get government agencies to investigate Trump. They knew that there was no categorical proof that he was working on behalf or alongside another country. They knew that the public or anyone with knowledge could refute their claims. They knew that they were giving information that they weren't actually truly suspicious. They were paid to obtain to devise a story. They were paid to create suspicion. That is illegal under 18 U.S. Code 371, especially when you're working alongside media, government agencies, and you have half the country duped. The same half of the country that think they're so morally superior and highly educated and they're so smart. And these people claim, like, you have historians who say, oh, Trump is historically a bad president. Well, do these historians remember the McCarthy era, the Red Scare tactics used by McCarthy and others, accusing everyone of being a communist? Okay. Do they remember that when he was a Republican And now Democrats have dipped into this well the past 5-6 years of Cold War hysteria. And that now and we see what's taking place. So the geopolitical nightmare under Biden's watch. But anything that happens from Hunter's emails to Tulsi Gabbard, accusing Clinton of, things that she did, that Clinton, Madam Secretary, did, or Bernie Sanders being cheated, or Trump, anything to do with Trump, it's always the plot. It's always a Kremlin plot. This is the most absurd Cold War, Red Scare, McCarthy era propaganda being repackaged because morally superior, highly educated, wonderful liberal Democrats, beautiful people can't look in the mirror and say, wow, we were defeated by Trump. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. I'll be back in a couple of hours. Thank you.